in time. My name is Eloise Schottler. I'm your storyteller. I love summertime. Well, not as hot as we've been having it this summer, but I love the summer, and it brings back childhood memories. Probably to you too. Do you think back to some of those special summers that you really enjoyed? Well, the year that I had just finished the second grade, World War II was going on. My father had joined the U.S. Air Corps, the U.S. Army Air Corps, and had been shipped overseas. My mother, like so many other women, was at home alone with 3 children. I say she was home alone because Daddy was gone, but she was a working mother. She worked as a secretary at Morris Field, the air base outside Charlotte. She was a secretary in the dental office. She had 3 children. Was the oldest, still am the oldest, my sister Linda and my sister Kathy. I was 7 years old. Linda was 5 and Kathy was 2. It was hard. Let's put it that way. It was hard on my mother to juggle 3 kids, a job, and thank goodness that she had Emma. Emma came every day early to take over with the kids so that Mother could get to work. She adjusted to that, and we were really getting along pretty well until polio came through Charlotte. In 1944, polio rolled through Charlotte, and it was like a ghostly specter that was reaching out for children. It was very scary. There was a quarantine. You couldn't go here, you couldn't go there. Children couldn't be together, not at the movies, not anywhere, because it was a children's disease. Mother got really, really scared for Linda and me. We were young. We wanted to play outside. We wanted to play in the hose. We wanted to do all those summer things that kids do. So I don't know who made the call, but my dad's family is a longtime Catholic family in North Carolina, and somebody called Mother Benignus at Sacred Heart Academy in Belmont, where all the Sisters of Mercy nuns in the state of North Carolina had come home for the summer. It was their mother house. The school was closed. There were just sisters there. Well, Mother Benignus agreed that she would take me and my sister Linda for the summer, and that we could come out there and stay. There was certainly enough people to look after us, I will tell you that. It was startling to see your clothes packed up and names sewn in to the back of your shirts and the back of your panties. And I didn't quite know what it meant until the day that Mother took us out there and loaded out the trunk and helped us unpack and put the shoe bag over the top of the bed, the back head of the bed, put our toothbrushes in. And I realized that she was going to go home, and we weren't. Homesickness is a really bad thing for a little kid to have. And Linda and I that night, sleeping in a room with 14 beds in it, an old dormitory that was empty for the summer, cried ourselves to sleep. And I cried for many a night soon after, until I got to the place where I loved it there. I was so happy, and I just loved it. It was a farm, as well as being a school and a church and a place where all these sisters were. And there was a farm with cows and fresh eggs and fresh milk and delicious homemade food that they worked up every day. They went and picked it up, and then they cooked what they had grown. I was a city girl, so that was not the kind of life I knew. Well, summer came to an end, and the war didn't, and Daddy didn't come home. And so Mama decided that it would be best if we stayed out there for the school year. And so we did. And that was okay too. Really, it was great. I loved it there. Now the sisters I had gotten to know so well in the summertime were my teachers in the classroom. And I really knew where everything was. There was no mystery left to that place. In the spring, they had a traditional May Day. And the way that they did it, they put a maypole up with the ribbons that a child would turn around, and there'd be music and you dance around it. And each class did a dance from a special country. It was part of your geography lessons. My little sister Linda her class, which was the kindergarten, did the Mexican hat dance. She even got to be the one that was under the big hat. My class, which was the third grade, did a dance from Amsterdam. We were the Dutch girls. A Dutch dance. They even had wooden shoes. We went up into this huge room with racks and racks and racks of dresses and costumes of every size and picked out the dress for us to wear, but they were short one thing. They didn't have any Dutch girl hats. So they sent home to the mothers a pattern and instructions of what kind of material to get and how to get it so that the moms could make that Dutch girl hat. We practiced every day. We were so excited. The kids were getting more and more excited every time we lined up in this pavilion that was out on the soccer field. The day before, I was standing in line, and Sister came to me and she said, "Eloise, we still don't have your hat." I said, "Well, I haven't gotten it from my mother." And I thought, surely tomorrow is the program. What'll I do? She might take me out of the line. And I got really nervous about the fact that I might not get to do the Dutch girl dance. The next day, we were all lined up. The classes were sorted by their costumes. The nuns know how to do this. It was done very well. And we were all ready. And I had no hat. And I was on the brink of tears. 8-year-old heartbroken tears. I was on the brink when I looked across the soccer field and there was somebody running toward us. It was my mama. At 28 years old, she could really run. And here she came waving something white like it was a flag. It was my hat. She had made it and she got it there just in the nick of time. The dance went very well. We had a great time. And this summer, Mother had made arrangements for us to spend the whole summer in our grandmother's house at Wrightsville Beach. She took a leave of absence from her job and she sublet our apartment in Charlotte, and we moved to the beach. It was great. We were all together. We were at the beach. What more could you want? Well, one afternoon, we were walking over to the Catholic chapel on the ocean side of the beach. To do that, you had to go up Channel Drive and then cross over a high pedestrian bridge. It was a wooden bridge that started out sort of low and then just arced up with a footpath so that the boats could get underneath when they were going down the sound, the sailboats. It would be high enough the sailboats could get under. Because we had to go to church every day to pray Daddy home. That was our job. And one day it was so beautiful, and we walked across and up that bridge, and we stopped at the top. Sometimes we did that to watch the sailboats and the motorboats, and you looked down, and the green water was far below, and you could see the silver fish in schools of fish just skimming right on by. And I leaned up against the railing, and I had my Dutch girl hat in my hand. I wore it all the time. I loved it. And every time she saw me and noticed or thought about it, Mama would tell me again how hard it had been for her to make it. You'll never know, Eloise, how hard that was. And I was standing there with my arms out over the railing, looking down at the little swells on the green water, and it was almost as though I was watching something happen to somebody else when I saw my fingers open and that white Dutch girl hat drifted out of my hand, and it was caught by a breeze just like it was a bird and was gliding down till it hit the water. And it floated there for just a minute with the streamers behind it, and then it sank. At that moment, my mother noticed what had happened. "What have you done?" Well, I couldn't explain it. And she didn't understand it. All she talked about was the fact that I worked so hard on that hat and you threw it away. Well, finally we all got over it and forgot about the Dutch girl hat. Would you believe this? Until 25 years ago, I started working with genealogy. I found a book in the Charlotte, North Carolina library, the Tunis Hood family book. And it had my mother's grandmother and her lines traced out in it back, as descendants of a pioneer in North Carolina called Tunis Hood. And what I stood there and I couldn't believe what I was reading. Back up. Tunis Hood came to North Carolina from Virginia, and he had come to Virginia from what may have been called West Virginia then. I didn't know for sure, but he came to West Virginia as a surveyor. His father came to West Virginia as a surveyor from New York State, from the Dutch colony in New York State. I couldn't believe it. I was a Dutch girl, way back when. And I began to think about clipper ships and what I knew about the New York colony when it was Dutch. I went home and I told my mother, I said, "You remember that Dutch girl hat you made?" "Well, yeah, I do. It's gone." "I know it's gone, Mother. But you remember, and that it's so right that I was the Dutch girl, a Dutch girl in that dance." And then I told her about Tunis Hood and how her ancestors had come from New York and that really there was a Dutch connection. I never did figure out why you threw that hat away, Eloise. Well, you know something, Mama? Neither can I. But I'm really glad that I had it. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here. And Friendship Heights Village Community Center, the third Wednesday of the month, 7:30, 2 storytellers, free for you. Please come.